Hey, I'm Rob,
And I'm Mike.
and we're just two normal lads exploring the mysterious, the controversial, and the conspiratorial.
Join us each week down the rabbit hole for our latest exciting discussions, ideas, and tinfoil banter.
Tinfoil Banter. Serious questions, questionable conclusions. Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of Tinfoil Banter, where we're going to be talking about the weird and wonderful ideas of the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon which was basically started because a group of people had a false memory about um, Nelson Mandela and how he died. They remember him dying in prison, um, but he didn't. He died after he left prison, I believe, basically. And so this started a sort of term that was known as the Mandela Effect. But there's lots of different examples of the Mandela Effect, and we're kind of going to talk about what it is, as I said, some examples, and like some strange ideas around why that might occur. I I'm going to try sharing something this time. Should we give it a go?
Yeah. Hey.
Hopefully you guys can now
Whoa.
see my screen. Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to ignore this right now. This is just a little pussycat, but for now we're going to go up here. Okay, Mike, you're going to tell me which is the real picture.
I know the real picture.
Okay,
Pikachu is on the right. I've experienced so few of these, but I have experienced a couple.
this one I kind of think I thought maybe like in a couple of episodes I'd noticed it was black or something
And
like
I can
that.
explain this one.
Go on.
There used to be a lot of bootleg Pokemon stuff, and the
Mm-hmm.
bootleggers would just slightly tweak things. I think that's why, because it was so everywhere, the bootleg stuff.
You're telling me
Maybe
I've got some fake Pokemon cards amongst my collection, aren't you?
who would have thought?
Yeah. Okay, what this one?
Didn't really watch it. Wouldn't be able to tell you.
I think it's this one. Looney Tunes.
I think that's the correct one.
Yeah, Tunes is, but
Yeah.
Tunes makes more sense. So maybe just people, you know, remember what they wanted to remember. Um. Anyway, moving on. You know this guy?
Yeah.
From
Th-
everyone, I think that thinks they love playing Monopoly, and then they get to it and they're like, "This is too long," so just going to stop doing this. Which one's the right guy?
I know which one the right guy is, but this is one that I did experience when I was thinking about it. I
So
always
you
thought he
thought it
had
was?
the monocle.
Yeah, me too. Same with this one.
Hmm.
I don't know if I really relate to this one because I think it's an
This
American
a
program.
lot. A lot of the examples that come up in the videos and online, they're Americanisms a lot of the time. So they're not Americanisms, but they're all American based.
Yeah.
But why is that, Rob? Why do you think?
Ah, well, I wouldn't want to comment, Mike. I mean, this one's a bit weird for me. Like, they're quite different words. Steen or Stein, right? And
Yeah.
stain. So I don't know. Just it's this one anyway. But like, have you ever heard the name lasting in stain?
I've heard of neither of those names, but
I mean, that's a good point. All right, a couple more. This one. Do
yeah,
you know
this
what
one
these
got
are?
me. Hmm.
This is the only time I've ever heard the word cornucopia. It
The
means
Horn of
basket.
Plenty.
It means
Hmm?
basket. That's what it is.
Oh, the cornucopia is Horn of Plenty. Like it comes from copious. Corn, new, Horn of Plenty.
Yeah. But this is the right one. This doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist, but that one got me.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Finally,
That product in itself is for dirty buggers who don't wash their clothes. Didn't know in the first place. Always wash my clothes.
okay, well, that'll do. That was the end of that for now. um, I'm
Who
just
uses Febreze? Just wash your clothes.
anyway. So coming back to the actual examples,
Hmm.
there are a few more that are quite popular as well. They're like ones I couldn't really show as pictures, but they were things that I've misremembered. So
Hmm.
and things I maybe just have captured from different versions or like parodies of them. For example, the Star Wars quote, "Luke, I am your father." He doesn't say that. He just says, "I am your father." I think doesn't say Luke.
He says, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your
Yeah.
father. He told
Um,
me you killed him. No, I am your father.
Perfect, Mike.
I am geek.
Very good. My brother would be very proud of you right now. He's a
I'm a
massive
Star
Star Wars
Trek
nerd.
fan. I'm
Well,
more
still.
Star Trek than Star Wars.
Lord of the Rings quote. There is the one where Gandalf is fighting the Balrog, I think it's called, and he's just about to get like effed up, and then he like says, "I've always thought he said like run, you fools,' because that makes sense because they have legs and feet. But apparently, he says fly, you fools, which I just think I didn't really hear it that well. Maybe the first time.
Hmm.
I don't think that's a misremembered one, but it's an interesting one. This one is don't think this is really a Mandela effect, but one definitely I've seen people do because if you're like somewhere playing live music and they cut or you hear "We Are the Champions" by Queen, you always hear the crowd sing the end of the phrase, but in the song he doesn't say "of the world."
Yeah,
He just says "We are the champions." It's like kind of like a imperfect cadence. Dun,
hmm,
dun. Yeah. So I think a lot of people always think it comes back in and with the rest of the phrase.
because a
Um,
lot of their songs do.
or just maybe a lot of songs would come
A
back
lot of
in and
songs do.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Mm.
He would bang out by himself ending of the song a lot of the times.
I mean, that's true. There's probably loads of live versions where they might have done that still,
Mm.
right? And maybe that's where it's been remembered from. But um, yeah, the original recording doesn't have it. So possible scientific explanation, right? If we're taking conspiracies out the window for a second, and anything too crazy, um, I read that scientists did have like an explanation of what it might be causing it. It's like memories are stored in our brains, and they're kind of stored near similar memories. So the neurons that they kind of both use, they fire together, and it kind of shows two truths, and it blurs the truth.
But why would so many people have these false memories?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, and I wonder if it's like what we're in a world now where we've really kind of started to homogenize things in the sense that everything's a remake of something and everything's a parody of something, and then maybe over time that's just kind of like the parodies become more prominent than the. It's like when someone does a really good cover of a song, and then everyone remembers the cover, but they don't remember the original version. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm thinking it's something like that, really. That it's not. It's like a community driven thing. It's not that there's more memories of it not being that thing, even though the original thing is that thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. Um, anyway, so that's the kind of high level explanation of what it is like technically. If you don't go into all the weird and wonderful, any thoughts on that, Mike?
Not really. They exist, but I've experienced so few of them. Uh, the only other one example that is more British focused is the crisp packets being cheese and onion and salt and vinegar on
But they
Walker's
did
crisps
change, didn't they?
changing colours. I thought it was to do with back in before. So I'm getting called by Peter. Um, Golden Wonder was another crisp manufacturer. They had the other way colours being the other way round for cheese and onion and ready salt and vinegar. That's why people are getting confused with Golden Wonder versus Walker's.
So I'm not even sure what I remember now. I thought Walkers genuinely did change the color of their crisps at one point.
No,
Did they not?
no.
Ah, see, I'm one of those people. So you can't really talk about the Mandela effect without really talking about simulation theory a little bit.
Hmm.
And we kind of denied about calling this episode "Simulation Theory" or the Mandela Effect because for me, the simulation theory is where it gets kind of really interesting. So it's made popular by a guy called Nick Bostrom. Um, it's basically that the reality of experience around us is actually artificially created by, like, computer generated, right? By an advanced intelligence, or maybe ourselves from the future, or whatever it might be. But something has created the simulation that we're living in. We're not. The fabric of our universe is actually ones and zeros. And strangely, there's a guy who says about that the equations they write to describe the cosmos, when they break them right down, it does get to ones and zeros, which is a computer code.
Hmm.
Anyway, that aside, that's probably a massive coincidence. But the idea being that a creature gets so good at artificially simulating things like we do with computer games right now, right? Or whatever, simulating AI and things like that. They get so good at it, they're able to recreate an exact replica of their own reality, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, if that's possible to do, and based on the trajectory of technology so far, it suggests that one day that might be possible, right?
Mhm.
Then what that means is the likelihood of us being in the simulation is far more likely than not. Because if one can create the other can create the other, and it's an infinite loop. So you essentially now got infinite numbers of simulations. The idea you'd be in the base simulation, number one, is basically zero because it's one to infinity. Or the other way to look at it, that a lot of people do, is basically that you're either in a simulation or you're not, you know?
Mhm.
But that's still 50-50. That's quite a high chance.
Mm.
So the simulation theory in itself is a pretty wild one. And this, again, this isn't a conspiracy. This is like it kind of bakes into like quantum physics a little bit. I think a little bit because, um, as I said, they kind of got to the point of getting really deep there and got to a point of ones and zeros in their mathematics when they're trying to explain the cosmos, right?
Mhm.
So, and also in 2017, by the way, they
Mhm.
actually embedded computer code into DNA. So we know it's possible to do to
Mhm.
embed. So, but that's the other way around, right? We're suggesting that we are code, but technically you can also embed DNA into code. So maybe what
Yeah.
made us has embedded code into us.
Mhm.
Pretty wild in itself. Again, not even a conspiracy theory. That just that on its own is pretty mind blowing. And as I said, it kind of links to a lot of quantum physics, really, because now we get to talk about well, what is what is happening with reality and how could the situation that we were talking about before in terms of Mandela effect, things changing, what are other ways that could occur? And before we go into the conspiracy, you kind of have to talk about some quantum physics. First of all, Mike, I'm going to try sharing my screen again. Let's have a
Oh, good, 'cause you don't pan to me about quantum physics.
look. Well, I am. I'm just a mere like I'm enthusiast. But the more I learn, the more I like, I guess. Let me just reshare my screen here. And you'll see this one here. Okay, Fabrice from earlier. This
Ah.
guy, you know this guy, Mike? This is Schrodinger's box. Erwin Schrodinger. And this is his idea that two realities, potential realities, coexist until the point of observation, which is quite mind bend in itself. But everyone
Mm.
probably knows of the experiment. It's you've got a radioactive element, you've got a vial of poison, and you've got a cat in a box. The radioactive element has a 50-50 chance of going off and breaking the vial of poison, which will then inevitably kill the cat. So it's a 50-50 chance. And the idea is if you shut that cat in a box with the vial, you can't see what has happened. And only when the observer opens the box and sees the result that the cat is alive or dead is when that result actually happens, which is hard to think of because you would think that in one timeline, in the same timeline, this cat is alive and either died at some point or is still alive,
Mhm.
and then the person opens the box. But that's not what this suggests. It suggests when the person opens the box is when the result of whether that has happened or not it is actually happened, which is very difficult to.
It's easy. It's like an STI test.
Sorry, wait.
You either have got it, you haven't. You're not gonna know if you've got chlamydia until you get results.
No, because you've already got chlamydia. Surely in that situation, you're just
Nah,
fine.
I can't see it.
Okay, I hope you're not talking from experience here, but yeah, okay. Well, I mean, but yeah, maybe there's another great example. Yeah, Mike Moonshine's chlamydia.
It's
Love
easier
it.
to understand than the cat in the box.
Yeah. So this also brings us to some other stuff. Okay, so it's John Wheeler. This is like a trippy image, right? His idea was that every time a decision is made, the universe splits off into two, and there's basically two parallels of itself. So, in Schrodinger's box example, we're here, and but when the choice happens of, I guess, it being dead or alive, you're actually creating two different timelines,
Right.
and every choice is then quantifiably creating more and more universes and creating infinite amounts of universes with every choice that every individual makes ever. Right?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, I like with the size potentially of the universe being infinite, there's infinite possibilities of different planets existing. There'd be another Earth, but there'd be an Earth with me wearing a red hoodie because the
Yeah,
possibilities are infinite. But with this one,
it's infinite, infinite.
infinite on infinite,
It
which
is.
is again mathematically
I
impossible
mean,
because
fuck
infinite
it at
is
that point,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah. I
it's
just
already it's a lot. So you're just telling me there's then more alternative dimensions where these other things exist as well, right? And there's a situation where Owen's cat was fine, and there's a situation where Owen's cat was dead.
mm,
And that irrespective of what order that happens in, which is Owen's fear in the first place, what this guy is saying is what that would result in is a split in the universe. Okay. I'm going to come back to something I tried to talk about last time. I'm going to try and do a better job talking about it this time. It's a double slit experiment because it's totally links in as well. Okay.
oh yeah, I watched this. I did a bit of
Yeah.
research on that as well.
Because I think I said it slightly incorrectly last time. And basically, so first of all, Thomas Young, 1801, he's like the first guy to really start doing it. Like 1801, that's a long time ago that people started thinking about this. But I think the experiment has advanced a lot since then. The most modern version that I'm aware of, again, is just down here on the next little thing here. Oh no, that's a different one. We'll come back to that one. I'm not sure if I've got that one. Oh, sorry, I've got it wrong. I'm sorry. The last one isn't John Wheeler. This is actually a guy called Hugh Everett. I'm sorry. This is Hugh Everett's many worlds theory. My apologies. This one is John Wheeler's, and this is the idea. I'm sorry. I'll come back to double slit experiment in a minute, but this one is the idea that a quasar leaves somewhere a billion light years away, and thus
Y-
comes directly to Earth and takes a billion years to get here.
Right.
On its way, let's say a million years away, is a black hole, and this quasar has to go around the black hole, one way or the other, right? Let's just think about it as left or right, but technically it's more than that, isn't it? If it's a 3D world, so just think about it as left and right. You would think that the choice of that happening happened a million years ago, but in reality, it only happens when it hits Earth a million years later, and it is measured. When it's measured, it can then be determined if it went left or right. But before then, it basically had done both and coexisted. And the idea there is it's a bit like a wave, like a wave of both of these timelines happening at the same time until one is determined. Now, whether that means that the split ends, or whether that still means that the many world theory that whoever it suggested would happen doesn't really matter. But the idea is again that the choice is not happening a million years ago when it has to go around the thing; it's happening when it's measured, which is very hard to get your head around as well.
Until it's observed. Yeah.
Sorry, until
Yeah.
yeah, observed. Okay, exactly. And then similarly, last but not least, is this one is the one I tried to talk about last week, which is the double slit
Yeah.
experiment.
This is the weird one.
Yes, really odd. So the idea being this is a light particle, and it was understood to be a particle. Well, let's just call it a photon, right? It's a photon, and because it was understood as a particle, when you shoot it through the slits, you expect it to just make two lines, okay? But it doesn't basically do that. Instead, I don't think I have another image of it to be honest, but instead it makes these patterns like this, which is like a wave. So the idea being is that when it's getting going and hitting this screen, it's like
Hmm.
making a wave effect, which suggests this is actually not a particle, it's a wave. Okay. Then they were like, okay, well, we'll measure what's happening. And when they had a look at it, basically it seemed that the particles were going through both and then still creating this sort of effect.
Hmm.
So then they tried to measure if it was going left or right, and it did what they originally thought it would, which is just make the two lines like you would if you sprayed paint through two lines. That's what they expected to happen. So basically, the idea here is again that the particles are changing how they act based on observation.
Mm.
They would be a particle if they're observed, but they'd be a wave if they were not observed.
Hmm.
So that's again a really hard thing to get your head around. And the reason we're talking about this is because the Mandela effect could suggest lots of things. And some of the conspiracies are almost backed by quantum physics in a kind of weird way, right? Like
Hmm.
what we're saying. Like, so let's say simulation theory existed, then yeah, maybe the simulation changed. It's like the Matrix, right? So you
Mhm.
you saw two black cats. That means there's been a glitch and something's changed. Shit, like the Berenstain Bears are now the Berenstain
Yeah.
Bears. Fuck.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
got
Anyway,
chlamydia.
so my very novice understanding of quantum physics, but just things that really interested me, and I thought once I went down this rabbit hole of the Mandela effect is when I started to go, oh, there's every like video always ends up talking about the quantum physics stuff, always ends up talking about simulation theory, and there's a fair link there. That's quite interesting. So then it starts to really, you're not really talking about the Mandela effect anymore. But so come into conspiracies then. What do you think the most like obvious one here would be, Mike?
This is to be a conspiracy theory. The government isn't in on this one.
You reckon? I've written it down
No.
as a possibility.
Oh, no.
No, go on. Why don't you think they could put what? Go on, explain.
Because they would be part of the simulation just as much
Mhm.
as we are, and particles would still be doing their thing when the government observed it and when they're not observing it.
Yeah,
So I don't think they are in on it.
yeah.
If
Okay,
the
fair enough.
I mean, I'm kicking out. I'm not
Sorry,
a
I
big
understand
fan.
that. You don't think they're in on simulation theory. That's fair enough. Okay. No,
Yeah.
sorry. That's my question was actually more about the
Oh,
Mandela effect and reasons that that might be happening outside of simulation theory. So we think about putting this quantum physics stuff aside and the simulation theory stuff aside.
yeah,
What other like reasons could it be that these things are being misremembered, other than you just all got confused?
yeah. They're mostly things that Americans have misremembered.
Why might
There's
they have
there's
misremembered them?
because they're being bombarded with other information. If I'm going to be nice and kind about it,
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? Like maybe they just didn't lock that key bit in. Maybe it was such an insignificant, like,
they are. It is insignificant. It's the color of Pikachu's tail.
yeah,
It's the name of some fictional bears on an obscure sort of cartoon. Nelson Mandela thing.
that's
That
weird.
was a big one. That's a big one. But
That's quite weird.
yeah,
So,
it was before
sorry.
I was born. It was before I was born, so I couldn't
Yeah.
really even comment on it.
So one thing I thought could be how the CIA wants to
Okay.
just for fun, right? Because they just keep coming out, and I'm joking about this really, but one thing it kind of links to is the psychics again, right? And implanting memories and implanting false
Mhm.
memories, and
Mhm.
maybe if those psychic experiments were successful and they were able to do mind control or implant false memories or something like that, that's the reason why a large amount of the public, maybe largely Americans, misremember all of these things.
The CIA could be mind airdropping
Mm,
false memories,
yeah.
but
So,
of all the things, Pikachu's tail would be the one the CIA would
ah, but
be
dude, maybe
dropping.
those are just the tests, right? Maybe those are like betas. They're just
They're
gonna
just testing it.
they just did a round of like random things. Just all the pictures I showed you, like right, all
Uh
those
huh.
things. I'm gonna just do all those and see if anyone notices. And then maybe it's been X amount of time, and they were like, actually, no one's noticed. And then they hit the button on something big,
The
and
product
we've
launch was
only
Nelson Mandela.
yeah. Then it was Nelson Mandela, right?
Then they
And then
had to
everyone was
troubleshoot the
like,
bugs.
yeah. And then they started realizing that not only were now people realizing that Nelson Mandela had died in a different circumstance, but all of these other little things that they tried in their beta have also been misremembered.
Yeah, I don't. The Mandela effect for me, I'm kicking it out. I don't think it exists. Apart from the
What? So what?
cornucopia, I
So
don't
you
think it
think?
exists.
But okay, but what do you think it is then? Just literally misremembrance? Yeah.
Misremembering,
Yeah.
misremembering.
That's basically what that other thing said. It just gave a reason for why that misremembrance might happen. It's just because it's near another memory that's kind of like
Mhm,
in and blurring
mhm.
the two, which makes a lot of sense neurologically, right? Um, Okay, well, what about the idea that the hadron collider, large
Hadron collider.
hadron,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, that bad boy, the LHC, that when they turned that on, it made a split, just one, just one
yeah,
split of timelines, and that at that point in time, going back to that many worlds theory, but maybe it only happens when you do something crazy like drop a nuke or
mhm,
a
mhm.
lot of energy causes it to happen.
Yeah,
Maybe when they did that, it's been causing the like timeline switch and going back into your quantum physics there again. But
yeah.
that's
It's fine.
you like that one?
Uh, I'm I don't know if I'm even on board with simulation theory, to be honest.
Of course, yeah, it's really one, difficult to even comprehend, but two, when you do, it's kind of like, well, that sounds like bullshit. I know I'm here. I can feel this. I feel alive. I've got a consciousness. I've got
I
dreams.
I get it when some of the ideas was the program booting up was the big bang. That's when it came something from nothing. That was just the program booting up.
Mhm.
And as we're going through time, there are little glitches. There are UFOs. What are UFOs?
Little spies, seeing if their simulation's doing any good.
What? Yeah, they're coming to. They're the diagnostic tool. They are the disk cleanup. They are whatever you need the program to be.
Here's another thing:
Um, Go ahead.
we sleep, and in that time, and then we wake up. How do you know that the place that the world, the reality that you went to sleep in, is the same one that you woke up in?
That's the Star Trek transporter sort of idea. Because when they get transported, they get broken down into particles, transported to another planet, and re-energized again. But as that first person just been killed, and then just the bits and bobs that make them re-put back together again
Somewhere else.
somewhere else. But is that
Uh,
happening when you go to sleep?
Spoiler alert: that's also the end of the Prestige. That amazing magician film
You
is
just
that
stole
he
that from Star
manages.
Trek.
Well, maybe it's a great film. And I'd say Star Trek are taking it from the fundamental ideas of physics in a way. So it's not like a completely unique idea to
No.
make that into media. But anyway, so that's maybe it's that, right?
Hmm.
Maybe it's that. Maybe there was a split, or maybe, yeah, maybe we all got vaporized and reprinted somewhere else when that happened. But the LHC actually did blow up the world, and whatever's controlling the simulation just like, okay, no worries, I've got the last save. I'll just print that one and start again, start a new game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
How
sorry.
it's a an atheistic sort of agnostic god. You can use it to explain it. It's the simulation. It's a religion.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? Like if this starts to get any ground, it will it also get a big following around, and that's kind of why I like talking about certain conspiracies, is because that in itself it's not false memories, but it's like the belief that what the known is not the known, and it's not a phenomenon because it's chosen, but that's why I like talking about these in depth, just because you
Mm,
get to kind of really measure it up and give it some fair analysis and bounce it off you, who I don't always necessarily line with in terms of, you know,
much.
life.
Yeah. I find simulation theory to be a more techno god. You can use it to explain anything.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah. Okay. Last one then.
Go ahead.
They've managed to crack time travel. Maybe like you said, right? You print yourself in a different timeline though, instead of a different place.
Hmm.
So think of that space-time continuum. We're talking about the time part of it right now. Going back in, being printed somewhere else and starting again there.
Yeah.
What if they managed to crack that, and and they're able to like change things, and that's why things have changed and we misremember these things.
Nice. So they've gone back in time, and by changing things, the timeline is slightly altered, and that's why we're misremembering.
Hmm.
Why not, man? Techno God moves in like mysterious ways.
Well, no, you can't. Techno can't be the simulation theory and the theory of time travel. I think we need a new genre to associate to time travel god.
Time
So,
travel could have its own episode itself.
huh?
Time travel could have its own episode
I
itself. There's
Because like jazz is kind of like free tempo sometimes. I think time travel god is jazz god, and I
okay.
think simulation theory god is techno god.
Okay.
Right. And I'm sure there's other genre gods out there that other people also believe in and support. And I don't want to discount that for anybody, but
Different flavors.
yeah. Um, anyway, that kind of wraps up all of my thoughts and ideas about the Mandela effect and how it kind of links into things like simulation theory.
Well, where do you stand on it?
Well, I don't know, Mike. I just like the ideas sometimes. Sometimes I don't even really think about what it is I actually believe anymore because it's hard to settle on some things. And the more you read about the certain things, the more you're going to start leaning a certain way. But with this one, I think, yeah, I'm with you. It's just misremembrance. If I was going to rate it, I'd probably rate it like a 3 out of 10. Right.
Oh, okay.
What would you go for? Like zero?
Uh, Probably a 2. It'd have to be lower than you, basically. So
The only
a
reason
little
I've
bit
gone to
more.
only because the reason I've gone to a 3 because you have a lot of famous like physicists saying that simulation theory is like the odds of it could be 1 to infinity or 50-50. So I'm sort of like, well, if
Mhm,
simulation theory exists, then that would make sense, and the Mandela effect would make sense, right? So if my ratings on if on the Mandela effect alone and it being like CIA government mind control, then it's a zero. If it's one of the like, I mean, it's time travelers, it's probably a one. But
mhm.
if it was any of the physics-based stuff about like the LHC or like any of those like quantum things we are talking about, then yeah, I'm probably up at like 3.
I think a lot of the physics science-based things, it just means we don't understand all of it
Yeah,
yet. We just don't know, but we can't just
or
pigeonhole it
ended.
into, we're gonna call it simulation theory, or but the
Mhm.
reason this exists is because we're in a simulation.
I do think it's a really interesting time to be talking about this. Obviously, we are in a situation where we are creating artificial intelligence or AGI or all of these quantum computers and all of this other stuff that's going to help us basically improve our technology even more than it has. And I say
Mm,
help us. Some people see that as a terrible thing, but technically, if your aim is to create bigger and better things, which human beings kind of do a lot, then that's going to help us. The
mm.
results of that obviously being very questionable, but because we're going in that direction already, I guess it's a good time to be questioning. Hey, if we're able to create this thing, what's to say someone hasn't created us in the first place? And that's really the base of religion, right? It's just
That's
rather
the
than being
Yeah.
another race or intelligence or aliens, people believe that it was a bearded dude in the sky or whatever,
Mhm. As opposed to like a fat neck beard in a different dimension creating a simulation.
just
That's techno god
techno god. Yeah,
living
yeah,
in his mum's basement.
yeah. Do you reckon techno god and jazz god will ever meet?
Maybe in a clash of episodes.
Dude, what if techno god and jazz god are the same guy?
I mean, I probably, let's face it, he's omnipotent.
He's all the genres. Cool. That's a nice way to wrap up. Mike, as always, love doing these with you. Always a lot of fun. Have a great weekend ahead. And
Thank you.
yeah, let's do it again soon.
Yeah, I'll let you know how my test results come back.
It's still 50-50, right?
Bye
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
bye.